Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, November 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at what the United States National Hurricane Center is showing on their 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. We don't see much of anything happening across the Atlantic at this time. We still have that area that has now moved into portions of Central America, and it now has a 0% chance of tropical cyclone formation within the next 7 days, and that's mainly due to the fact that it has hit land, and we know when these systems hit land their chances of developing are 0. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can still see numerous orange broken lines across the Atlantic that are associated with numerous troughs. We can also see that we have that area flow pressure represented by the L across sections of Nicaragua and Costa Rica, not to mention a stationary front right there that stretches all the way from the southeastern Gulf of Mexico, the northwestern Caribbean, all the way into the northern portion of North Atlantic, stretching all the way over into possibly western Europe. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds, showers and thunderstorms associated with that area flow pressure still bring some amount of cloud showers and thunderstorms, not to mention a lot of flooding across sections of Central America. So definitely anywhere from Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, Mexico, definitely getting in on some heavy weather. We can also see some fast trade winds pushing all of these low level clouds from east to west across the central Caribbean, especially the south of Jamaica, especially into Jamaica, especially the eastern side of the island. And we can also see some more troughs across the eastern Caribbean, not to mention the clouds associated with the intertropical convergence zone. We can also see the clouds associated with that cold front that we mentioned that stretches all the way from Mexico all the way up into the northern portion of North Atlantic, stretching all the way into the western portions of Europe as well. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Saturday. It was stated that we would have received some amount of rainfall last night into Saturday across especially eastern parishes in Jamaica, then possibly spilling into sections of some central and western parishes during Saturday afternoon. And we know when we're talking about eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, so definitely sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, Portland. When we're talking about central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, so definitely St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. While when we're talking about western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, so St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James and Trelawney. And what ended up happening? As early as 3:40 a.m. on Saturday, a post was made on our Twitter page. Keep in mind that these posts aren't only made on our Twitter page, but we also have a Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. So if you are on one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there. So a post was made at 3:40 a.m. highlighting the Cuban Doppler radar images showing light, moderate and even heavy rainfall that's represented by the greens and the yellows, affecting sections of some eastern parishes in Jamaica, not to mention some coastal areas of some northern and southern parishes as well. But definitely sections of St. Thomas and Portland have been getting it from last night into today. And We can also see on the visible satellite images that were posted at 11:25 a.m. highlighting these clouds still making their way from the east to the west, especially intersections of St. Thomas and Portland. And we even had Lisa Pretty confirming the rainfall. It was storming not too long ago in St. Thomas, and considering that I myself live in St. Thomas, I have been getting in on some of that rainfall as well. Then in the afternoon, another post was made at 3:25 p.m. highlighting the infrared satellite images, and we still had the clouds coming into sections of St. Thomas and Portland, as we can see by those white patches. But look what happened across sections of central and western parishes. We had a buildup of thunderstorm clouds, some cumulonimbus clouds, those high cold cloud tops that are represented by those blues, greens, yellows, oranges, and reds. So we definitely had some amount of thunder clouds, bringing some isolated thunder showers to sections of some inland areas of some central and western parishes, more in the way of northwestern St. Catherine, northern Clarendon, sections of southern Trelawney, southern St. James, sections of Westmoreland and Hanover as well. And we even had Joe Mark Parks confirming the rainfall in his portion of northern Clarendon this afternoon, and he even sent in a video of this rainfall in his area. Alright, so let us take a look at what's happening across Jamaica right now in terms of the satellite images. We can see that those thunderstorm clouds that developed across sections of central and western Jamaica have now vanished, they've dwindled. But look what's coming into sections of the east. We have some amount of clouds represented by those whites, even some blues and greens in there that represent some high cold cloud tops heading into sections of St. Thomas. And we can even see it better on the Cuban Doppler radar images. Look at that. Look at all of that rain to the south of St. Thomas coming in to that parish. So greens, yellows that represent moderate to heavy rainfall as well, definitely heading into that parish as we speak. So we're definitely gonna be in for some more rainfall tonight into tomorrow morning. And if we take a look at the accumulated precipitation across Jamaica for the past 24 hours, this does indeed confirm the rainfall that we got. And by the way, this is from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, and we do see that majority of this rainfall was across inland areas of some central and western parishes, definitely sections of Westmoreland and Hanover, not to mention St. Thomas and Portland, as we can see right there. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 27 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by 3 a.m. on Sunday, the temperature should be at about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay and 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that Sunday 18Z, that's actually 1 p.m. on Sunday, we're going to be having the temperatures across the Jamaica area be about 2 degrees Celsius above normal. We can see Jamaica embedded in some yellows and some slight oranges, and we can see that that is represented right there on the key, 1 to 2 degrees Celsius. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of November in Jamaica is about 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we take a look at the thermometer, 88 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So if we're going to be receiving 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures for Sunday, it should be anywhere from 30 to 32 degrees Celsius at most. As it relates to the dry air map, we can see by the key at the bottom that the dry air is represented by the yellows, the oranges, and the reds, not to mention the whites within those reds. And we do see some amount of dry air across sections of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, sections of the Leeward Islands, not to mention sections of the Gulf of Mexico, as well as off the east coast of the United States, sections of the Northern Atlantic, as well as off the west coast of Africa. Jamaica is not getting in on much dry air at all, as we can see a lot of blues surrounding the island that represent a lot of moist air. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast, we can see that we don't have the forecast for 2 p.m. anymore. It's starting to show 1 p.m. If you don't know by now, Jamaica has been on United States Central Time. So tomorrow we're gonna be switching back the clocks for the United States, not necessarily for Jamaica, but we've been on Central Time all along, and now we're going to be going back to Eastern Time. So we're gonna be on the same time that New York and Florida are on, not to mention Cuba. And we're indeed grateful for that, so we don't have to be doing much calculations in terms of the time difference anymore until next year around March, April. So 1 p.m. on a Sunday has Jamaica still embedded in nothing at all. The air is moist, no Saharan dust to worry about. Majority of the Saharan dust is represented by the browns, and it will all be situated across sections of Africa and the main development region. And this plume of dust is not even that robust considering the lighter shades of browns that we see. Usually when we see that vigorous plume, it is represented by a much darker shade of brown. And furthermore, it's November. We don't usually see that much in the way of Saharan dust this time of year anyways. As it relates to the wave forecast, we do see that the north coast of the island has some lighter shades of blues. And when we look at the key at the bottom right, that represents anywhere from 0.5 of a meter to 1 meter wave height. While if we take a look at the south and the eastern side of the island, we see more in the way of some darker shades of blues, even some slight purples in there that represent anywhere from 1 to 1.5 or even up to 2 meter wave height. And that is seen on both the Euro and the JFS modes. And that's due to the fact that the winds are going to be strongest on the south and the east, as we can see by those brighter greens that represent anywhere from 15 to 20 knot winds. And the north and the west side of the island not so much in terms of those wind speeds, which explains the wave height. As relates to the upper level winds, we can see them coming in from the northwest, and that's gonna be favoring more of that isolated thunder shower activity across sections of some southern parishes. Something similar to what we saw today. We can see those high cold cloud tufts being blown off towards the southeast, and usually when that's the case, whichever direction the high cold cloud tufts are blowing off towards, that side of the island is usually where we see most of the rain. So not northern parishes, but definitely some southern parishes in Jamaica when it comes to that afternoon convection. And we do see that the air is going to be piling up across those very spots again, as indicated by those darker blues right there, inland areas of some central and western parishes. So we can't rule out 1 or 2 isolated thunder showers, just like what we saw for today across especially inland areas of some central and western parishes. And the focus should be on the south coast, considering that the upper level winds are blowing those cloud tops off towards the southeast still. If we take a look at the rainfall forecast, this is valid for 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So times haven't changed as yet until midnight tonight into tomorrow. So we're still on that central time just for tonight. So 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 p.m. Jamaica time. So we still have some blues that represent rainfall across sections of eastern Jamaica, which makes sense because the Doppler radar images are showing that rainfall right now. So that indeed verifies what is being predicted. So more rainfall in store. Skipping ahead to about 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're now on Eastern Standard Time, so I don't have to be calculating and say, oh, it stands for 1 a.m. Jamaica time. Nope. So this is valid for 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 2 a.m. Jamaica time. So we can still see that we have some blues that represent rainfall across sections of eastern Jamaica. So St. Thomas, Portland, and even skipping ahead to about 4 p.m. we can see more in the way of blues that represent rainfall across especially central and western parishes in Jamaica, especially the north coast. And if we take a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast, we do see that both the Euro and the GFS are showing rainfall across the island, stretching all the way from the east to the west. The Euro showing up to 0.36 of an inch of rainfall, and that is located across the east. The GFS showing up to 0.29 of an inch of rainfall right there across the very same spot, the east. So definitely the rainfall totals are going to be highest across eastern Jamaica, considering what we just saw on the 1 hour totals. And we're indeed grateful that we're going to be getting in on some amount of rainfall. We're in the month of November, we're in the last month of the rainy season, and even although both bar graphs for Kingston at the top and Montego Bay at the bottom start to dwindle in the amount of rainfall that we get, we're indeed grateful that we're gonna be getting rainfall anyways before we head into our dry months from December through to April. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we do see that we indeed have a lot of clouds bringing showers and thunderstorms in sections of the Windward Islands, especially sections of southern Venezuela, majority of Central America from Costa Rica northward, not to mention sections of western Cuba and the Bahamas. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the eastern Caribbean, we do indeed see where we have that rainfall more in the way of isolated spots across Puerto Rico, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica. But it starts to get even more intense the more south we go. So definitely the Windward Islands is where the heaviest of the rainfall is located. Definitely some flash flooding taking place anywhere from St. Vincent north southward. So definitely sections of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, of course, as well as sections of Barbados. Definitely gonna be getting in on some more rainfall tonight, and they have been getting in on rainfall today. As it relates to the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see some isolated thunderstorms across sections of northern Venezuela, not to mention that rainfall heading into sections of Belize right now, northern Guatemala, sections of Honduras. So they're definitely still in for some more heavy rainfall as we speak, as well as tonight into tomorrow. As it relates to the temperature forecast, we do see that the lowest temperature should be where we have those blues as represented by the key at the right. You know, the blues represent below normal temperatures, not to mention greens, while the above normal temperatures are represented by the yellows, oranges and reds. And we do see a lot of reds and oranges across majority of the northern Atlantic, majority of northern South America, but it should be slightly above average across majority of the Caribbean and below average for the southern US and the Gulf of Mexico. And that's valid, by the way, for 1 p.m. on a Sunday. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 1 p.m. on Sunday, we do see that majority of the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico should be in the clear because all the Saharan dust is right there across the main development region and Africa. As it relates to the wave forecast, majority of the Caribbean should be getting in on anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave height, and we do see that that's because the winds are not going to be that strong, averaging maybe 15 to 20 knots at most coming in from the east across the Caribbean. While as it relates to the rainfall forecast, we do see anywhere we see those greens, that's where we're going to be having that isolated rainfall. So let us show the key on the right. So definitely some amount of rainfall in store for sections of the Bahamas, sections of Cuba, just some isolated rainfall, sections of, let's say, Puerto Rico, as well as the Leeward Islands. But wherever we start to see the yellows and the reds, that's when we start to get into 0.5 per meter and upward up into 1 inch of rainfall. So some isolated flash flooding could take place. So anywhere from Guadeloupe southward, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Grenada, sections of Trinidad and Tobago, sections of Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, and even Mexico. And we see that both the Euro and the JFS malls are showing something similar, and when they're showing something similar like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.